Today on my pursuit of purpose, we've got a new motorcycle in the shop. It's a 2015 Harley Davidson Sportster, the 883 model. Unfortunately, the owner dropped it and broke the left side forward controls clean off and any little wiring on one of the turn signals. Join me for this adventure. It's a super clean bike, lots of little aftermarket additions to it. As you can see a few here, headlight turn signals, handlebars may or may not be, I'm not too sure. You can see some damage from when he dropped it and unfortunately broke both sides of the forward control off when he dropped it and bent the lever or the actuating rod. So we're in discussion on what he wants to do to replace them. These are just cheap Amazon controls from what I've been able to find. Here's the turn signals again, they're aftermarket. The right side rear was not on the bike when he dropped it off. He handed me this. I added a little bit of wire and some connections to the end because he said the wire was too short to reach, which I verified is true. Here's the wire from the bike, just in the middle of adding connectors to it. And it should all go back on super slick. So after spending way too much time trying to find parts and figure out the best cost-effective way to fix it, we ended up just buying a new full kit off Amazon. These are just cheap Chinese forward controls because, believe it or not, it was cheaper buying a whole brand new kit than just the arm from Harley Davidson. So I got that swapped over and spent a few minutes touching up paint where he had dropped it. There was a big scuff on the fender here and the mirrors were messed up. A few other places throughout the bike. It was one of those, the more you look, the more you find. Also, the rear right turn signal wasn't working because the wiring had rubbed through on the tire while he was driving down the road. Someone added these aftermarket turn signals. It was just a matter of running some new wire, resoldering it together, and then there's a factory wiring harness that runs from the front of the bike along the top of the fender for the tail light, and then it splices off from there and goes to each turn signal on each side. So I just zip tied it up to the factory harness and it'll never rub again. And I guess whoever did that initially didn't secure it properly. So I didn't bother filming any of that. It's super basic stuff. But what I thought I would show you, he just dropped off today this cool front fairing for the bike. And in the fall, obviously it took a good beating and actually broke. So he said it was just made out of plastic and I can plastic weld it together, but further inspection once he got it here, it's actually one piece of either like plexiglass or Lexan, that sort of material. And I don't know if they've painted it or if it's actually like dyed in the material. As you can see, it's all one piece, right? So I've never tried to plastic weld something like this before, but I told him I'd give it my best shot. You can see the big nasty crack there. Basically unusable as is. So he was willing to try. Worst case, it doesn't work and, well, it's still not usable, so nothing lost there. So in the past for plastic welding, I have had good results just using an old soldering iron, cleaned up the best I could, and then I just use some plastic I have left over. Zip ties I find work really well, low melt point, and then if need be I'll embed just a few regular old household staples, give it some structure. You'll want to embed them in the plastic kind of that way, like stitches. But my big question with this not being regular old plastic is, what is it going to melt like and how hot do I have to get it? So let's find out. So initially I was going to show you the process that I went through for the repair. As you can see, I've done one little spot here, but I've decided against that because you'd be here for 10 minutes just watching me do that one little spot. This Plexan or plexiglass, whatever it's made out of, has a really high melting point, so my little soldering iron has a hard time keeping up with it. But what I did is I embedded in a staple, and then I covered it up on top just with some black plastic. I used these zip ties. Just waiting for it to finish cooling here. It should be good and strong. And while doing so, I discovered that it actually looks like it's painted on the inside. It's because if you come around to the outside here, you can actually see the staple, believe it or not. So it's clear on the outside, painted on the inside. So I think what I'm gonna do, or I'll suggest to the owner, is I'll fix the crack, and then I've got some good flexible plastic trim paint, and I think I'll scuff the front and spray it. That way it covers up some more of the repairs.